Well, welcome back to our fourth in the series of videos on Tucson's changing urban landscape. We've so far talked about the history of what's been happening in downtown, taking it back to some of the voter-approved initiatives in the 90s through some of the more recent developments with the streetcar coming in 2014. Excuse me. We have talked about what's happening in the central part of downtown. We expanded that out into 4th Avenue and University area. And today we're going to talk about some of the things that are happening on the outskirts of the downtown area, but still part of this urban footprint. Today we're going to share with you about Sunshine Mile. This is just east of downtown. It's a stretch of road from Euclid to Country Club. So if you were in the downtown area, you've got the Snake Bridge right here. You come out, and then we're really talking about from Euclid to Country Club. It's more than a mile, but we call it the Sunshine Mile. Was really prolific in the 60s and 70s. So if you're into mid-century modern type of architecture, this is a great place to go and check it out. It's only undergoing some renovations right now, but here's a sense of the style of architecture that you're going to see in the Sunshine Mile. You've got on the far east end of it, this is the old Sambo's Pancake House built in the 60s with this space age design. It was a Chaffin's Diner for a while, and now it's the Welcome Diner. The owners of this out of Phoenix came down and renovated it and made it a very modern facility with this historic footprint. If you go all the way to the other end of the Sunshine Mile on Broadway and Country Club, you have the Chase Bank, which was originally a Valley National Bank. You've got a lot of art sort of built into this design. It's been a very well-received building over the years and still studied, I believe, by students at the U of A's School of Architecture. Across the street from this, the same developer put in Hirsch's Shoes. This is actually their first. This is a very interesting building. If you Google Hirsch's Shoes and look at it from when it first started, it's just a standalone building in the 50s. It's a pretty cool site, but it's now part of that Broadway Village area. You've got the Bisbee Breakfast Club over here and a few other things. Barrio Bread is tucked away in here. So the Sunshine Mile is really undergoing some transformation because of the widening project. The RTA is widening Broadway, and that jeopardized a lot of the retailers that were on Sunshine Mile. This is the Solot Plaza, and this is just to the east of Tucson Boulevard. Tucson Tamale Company is no longer there, but this whole plaza is pretty much empty at this point. The widening is going to take away whatever parking was available. So Rio Nuevo has stepped in with the city to take over control of this, and their goal is to create a pedestrian-style walking area for people to enjoy the shops. Even though they don't have the parking here, they'll move the parking to around the back area. So we'll see how this plays out over the next couple of years. And then if you're in that area just west of Campbell, there are some historic bungalows that were right up on Broadway from the 1930s, and those were going to be destroyed. And Rio Nuevo stepped in again and said, hey, let's not destroy those. Let's find a way to save those. And they've, with the help of the city, they took them over from the city, and they actually lifted them up and moved them back about 20 or 30 feet. So they are no longer right up against that Broadway widening, and they could be preserved. The idea being that they would end up with this sort of cafe, gallery, shopping area, again, more pedestrian friendly for people to enjoy just east of downtown. Something that's planned in the Sunshine Mile is Welcome Broadway. So this is the Welcome Diner. We showed you a picture of that earlier on. This is Broadway and Euclid. The Welcome Diner, the owners of that have purchased the lot next door, which is the old Volvo Broadway. They purchased that from the city, and they are currently working on plans to create a mercado-like environment where you're going to have shops, retail, maybe some hospitality, and restaurants in this area. So look forward to seeing what comes out of Broadway, Welcome Broadway. Currently working with the neighbors and the business owners to finalize the plans. But we'll see how things are moving along. So let's go, that's on the east side of downtown. Let's go all the way over to the west side to the Mercado San Agustin. So the major part of downtown is here. We've come underneath the freeway, and we are at the Mercado San Agustin. This is a very historic place. This is the birthplace of Tucson, 4,200 years of continuous agricultural history on this spot. Lots of history to sift through, and the developers are trying to work with that in conjunction with developing the area. So this project is completed. This is the West End Station. This is workforce housing. So your rent is based upon your qualifications to be here, and your rent is based upon the amount of income that you make. A few other provisions with that, but that is completed. It's called the West End Station. And then this picture below that is the Monnier Apartments. This is market rate apartments, so there are no qualifications, whatever the market will bear. Expect that to be higher end. The Monnier will end up being 122 apartments. There's going to be 13,000 square foot of retail and then 148 underground parking spots. The name of this came after a gentleman named Quintus Monnier. He was an architect, and he also had the Tucson Pressed Brick Company, which operated on this site. And the Tucson, those bricks are all over the foundation of Tucson and the University of Arizona. So Quintus Monnier, a very important name in Tucson history, and the Monnier Apartments named after him. This is underway. This is actually not even an updated picture. I need to update this. This is from when the GEM show was here in January, but this has come a long way since then. But it's definitely something that'll be completed later this year, and we'll see what 2021 looks for it. The master plan of the Mercado area is very interesting. You've got the Monnier building, which is almost complete. You have the original Mercado, the shops and restaurants. That was sort of the foundation of the area, and the homes in here from around 2010. The MSA Annex came in a few years ago. These are cargo containers converted into retail and dining opportunities at the Annex. This is an empty lot, still used for parking, as is this area here, but there's plans for both of those. The West End station is complete. We showed you that. Over here, you do have senior housing. So you've got market rate apartments, you have income-based housing, and you have senior housing, and you also have home ownership opportunities through here. Very diverse, intentionally diverse part of Tucson. This here, the Bautista, this is getting some traction. It's got some approvals with Rio Nuevo and the City Council, so it's moving forward. And it's going to look something like this. This is the Mercado in the background. This is the Bautista. And this is a massive project. Again, I seem to use that word a lot, but the Bautista, it's a series of apartments and retail, office space, fairly large project here. And you've got this sort of walk down amphitheater, these stairs that take you down to the Santa Cruz, with the potential that there might actually be water flowing in that Santa Cruz. See how that plays out. That's the Bautista. It's one of those planned projects. So we are on the west side of the freeway. We're going to jump over to the convention center and take a look at what's going on there. Here's the footprint of the area. You've got the convention center, the arena where the Roadrunners play, and this parking. And they've added this new hotel here. It's going to be the DoubleTree. And very first episode, we talked about the importance of the AC Hotel that has done really well in downtown. And in the second episode, we talked about the new hotel that's coming to downtown, the Hampton Inn H2 Suites. The last episode, we talked about the hotel, the Graduate Hotel going in at University. And now you have the DoubleTree coming into the convention center. So massive amounts of hotel rooms coming to the area. And that doesn't even include the renovations of places like Seoul Tucson, which used to be a Motel 6, and that's been renovated. You got Hotel McCoy, which has been renovated as a mid-century modern, iconic place to stay. The downtown Clifton has expanded. Their boutique hotel has expanded 20-some rooms. So you've got a lot of places for folks to stay here in Tucson. This is the DoubleTree. It's connected to the convention center. This is underway. This is a parking garage that is part of the proposal, and this has just begun construction. So they're taking out a lot of parking to put in this hotel. In exchange for that, they are building this parking garage here. This is what it looked like, I don't know, probably about a month ago. Well underway. So this is the hotel here in the convention center. You can't really see it, but off to the right, the parking is underway. Rio Nuevo is investing a lot of money into the convention center. So not only are they bringing in hockey teams and arena football teams and bringing in hotels, they've just recently announced about a $65 million, give or take, investment into the convention center with high-tech meeting spaces, more meeting spaces. They're going to work with Leo Rich Theater and the music hall to update them as they did with the arena with more modern amenities, better sound systems, etc. They're putting a parking garage on both the east and west side of the convention center to increase parking opportunities. And they're also investing money in this Ekbo Plaza. This is the exterior of the convention center that was designed by Garrett Ekbo in the 60s. This was part of that urban renewal which took place of where the neighborhood used to be. But Garrett Ekbo was a renowned landscape architect, and if you see his projects around the country, they're usually pretty well preserved and revered. Well, in 2010, after the economic collapse here in Tucson, we didn't have the money, so this hasn't been kept up, and now it's really just more of a hazard. If you really look at it, you've got these large gaping holes and big boulders. So part of Rio Nuevo's investment in the convention center is to update this Ekbo Plaza and bring it back to what it's supposed to be, which is flowing water, throughout, that just takes you all the way through this convention center area. Should be a very popular place for people to come. This is the music hall here. And if you can remember back to the second video series that we did, and we talked about that project called the Flynn, remember this massive project called the Flynn, 243 some apartments, is right here. So when you walk out of the convention center, you're going to be seeing the Ekbo Plaza right here, with this water flowing through it, and then the Flynn. So a massive amount of investment in the area, and it's tying it all together. So the convention center is here. We're going to go south on Meyer a little bit. This is Simpson and Meyer. This is what it looked like a few months ago. It was an empty lot, probably about a year ago. This is what it'll look like probably a year from now with all of these townhomes. One of the first projects where things are available for sale in downtown. Everything else we've talked about in the other videos have been apartments, meaning that they are for rent. This is an opportunity for someone to actually have ownership in a property in downtown. They can buy these townhomes, and they are underway. Project is farther along than this. This is probably from, I think, January or so. But you can see it's a masonry construction, which the developers, Miramonte, had to do to meet with the approval of the historic board there, because this area here is Barrio Viejo is very strict on new development, so you're going to have a high quality home there with Miramonte. And we're going to head over to what I think is one of the biggest areas of development that we're going to see. Of course, we don't know how the economy will play out over the next few years because of the sudden onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, but outside of that, the plans for 5 Points have been very exciting. 5 Points is the convergence of Stone Avenue, 6th Avenue, and 18th Street. So you have these 5 points here. A really nice restaurant there, 5 Points Market. They do a really good brunch and breakfast and brunch there. But the 5 Points area, there's several neighborhoods around. They're all going to get these little banners that go across the street talking about the different neighborhood names. If you're familiar with the area, this is the Wansley Auto Sales. It says "Ugly but Honest." It's a very iconic photo here in Tucson. There'll be some public art in that general area. And again, this is 5 Points. Before we talk about this, though, I just want to give you kind of a general idea of what's happening around here. If we were to go up Stone, the police station is over here, and there used to be a restaurant called Casa Vicente. That has actually come down, and the developers of that taking that footprint and the footprint of that parking lot and are working on condos. Again, everything that we've talked about in the other episodes have been apartments for rent. This is another project by Miramonte where they are proposing condominiums, something that you could actually own. It'd be 4 stories, 28 condos, and then because of Casa Vicente, they do want to make sure that this bottom remains a restaurant. So very interesting project underway for lots of reasons, but hopeful that this will come to fruition here. So that's up here. That's the Casa Vicente. If we were to come down just off to the side here, there's a small development of 7 homes that are the Mortacini Villas. These are higher end homes. There's going to be 7 of them altogether, 2 to 3 bedrooms. This is kind of what it's going to look like, a very modern feel to it. Some of them have been completed. I know at least one have sold to this point, but you can see very modern interior, beautiful layouts. That's the Mortacini Villas. So home ownership opportunities in the urban core do exist for new construction. That's over here. We have the 18th Street bungalows on this side. These are 4 buildings for sale. They were developed by the architect of this was Rob Paulus. If you listen to our last episode, you heard his name as part of the development on Trinity. He has a local architect, has a lot of influence here in Tucson. But these bungalows are complete. Eventually, they're looking for the mature landscape that goes around there. But for now, they're still a little bit more the infancy stage of that. But they are complete and for sale. Across the street from these bungalows is an empty lot that will soon house the Baffert. So this project here is very interesting. This empty lot is part of the Armory Park historic designation, and the work of the Baffert would not fit within those designations. So the owner swapped with the city, and they took this out of the historic designation, but they put this corner, this tip of 5 Points in the historic designation, and it seems appropriate because this is this is that ugly but honest sign, Wansley Auto Sales. It's a pretty iconic place in Tucson. So this will have the historic restrictions. This will not. So this is the current view. This is what that same view would look like when the Baffert is put into place. And you're looking at 14 apartments, 5,000, 6,000 square foot of retail, some dining down at the bottom, back in parking here. So not a huge project, but a nice infill project on an empty lot. So that would be, here's the Baffert. These are the 18th Street bungalows. There's the Baffert. This is the 5 Points. We talk about the housing up here. This structure right over here, this area here, this is 18. This is going to be 18 West 18th Street. This is currently an alignment shop, what's now defunct, but it's there. And then this is a historic bungalow. So they're going to redevelop this into something that looks more like this, with single-family residence and apartments on that lot. They are keeping that historic bungalow, turning that into a little cafe or a retail spot. If you're on 18th Street now, it looks a lot like this. Here's that bungalow there that you can see. So lots of things happening around that 5 Points area. Just around the corner from 18th West 18th is the Flash. This is a new development that is underway. They're taking multiple buildings that are there, and they're redesigning them to be retail and office space. I don't think that there's housing in there, but there may be. If you're down there, you can see the iconic Flash TV sign, and that's why this project's named the Flash. It's got these. This is usually the most recognizable piece of it, the names of all of the appliance makers that were in there. But from here to the corner, this is all fenced off now. Some of it's been hollowed out and gutted out, so they are working on putting that into development stages. While we're in 5 Points, 19th Street and 6th Street. So this is the 5 Points area. These are the bungalows are right over here. The Baffert will be here. This is the Flash right through here. This area here is potentially going to be redesigned by a local brewery. Currently, it's got this fence around it and is an old auto mechanic place. and kind of an aerial view, but imagine if Pueblo Vita gets their hands on it and does what they want to do, you can have a tap room and a little cafe down here at 5 Points. So lots of things happening in the 5 Points area. So if you've been listening to these this series of videos, it's been about an hour of your life, and it's really been a fast-paced look at what's happened, what's underway, what's planned, and what's possible. And it's just amazing to me, in looking at the urban core, that so much has happened. All these hotels, all this office space, all these apartments, they're underway. They're all going to be completed this year, next year. It's quite amazing to me. And you think about projects that we've talked about today, like the Bautista. Last series, we talked about Speedway Campbell. We talked about Welcome Broadway today as a potential. We talked about the Maloney's pad and what that could look like from perspective of 4th Avenue, and the Ronstadt Center and 75 Broadway. 6 major projects that haven't even gotten to that development stage yet. They're just still percolating. So all the development we've seen, all this infrastructure that's been put in place, really is just the foundation, and we haven't seen what truly Tucson is going to become over the next 5 to 10 years. We'll see how things play out, but stay tuned. We'd love to keep sharing this with you. If you want to stay in the know, check out Downtown Tucson Partnerships economic blog. They do a really nice job of keeping you up to date. Rio Nuevo shares all the projects that they're involved with, all the money they've spent, what the return on investment has been, what the expectations of the developers are. A great place to go. Tucson Improvement Beautification Org, tboaz.biz, is a great site for economic development around the entire metropolitan area. Really high quality website put together there. Website I personally like is mine, lifealongthestreetcar.org. It's it houses all the rebroadcast of all the radio shows that I've done over the last few years with Downtown Radio on 99.1 FM. Life Along the Streetcar is a show that focuses on social, cultural, and economic impacts in Tucson's urban core, and we get to talk to a lot of the decision makers, the change makers, the people on the ground, making so much of this economic development and keeping so much of our history and culture alive. And those videos are available on demand from lifealongthestreetcar.org. And I'm in the mortgage business. I've been doing mortgages for 20 plus years. If you would like to know more about how to work with us, if you're a real estate agent, or if you're a client, you can always reach out to us as well, to theheathteam.com. If you're a real estate agent, I recommend you go to tomstoolsforagents.com and check out the things that we can help you take presentations like this and create things for your clientele. And we do a lot more than just the urban core, but this is a great source for you. Again, my name is Tom Heath. I'm with the Heath Team at Nova Home Loans. I hope you've made it through all the videos in this series, and I look forward to sharing more updates with you as Tucson continues to grow. So thank you for your time.